Right, children? So in the previous chapters, we learned about the importance of electricity in our day-to-day life and how to generate electricity, and we learn about conductors and insulators, and we learn about different electrical and electronic appliances and components as well, right? So in this chapter, we are going to learn about conservation of electricity and prevention of accidents. Two topics we are going to learn. The first topic is conservation of electricity. The second topic is prevention of accidents, right? So the first topic is conservation of electricity. We'll go through this one. The consumption of electricity is increasing day by day, right? So you all know that ancient people, they did not have electricity. Therefore, most of the time they got their work done by natural resources like sunlight, right? But nowadays, we use a lot of machines in order to make our work easy. Day-to-day life, we use number of machines, right? So most of the time to run these machines, we need electricity. Right, children? That is why consumption of electricity is increasing day by day, right? At present, the generated electricity is not sufficient. So why is it not sufficient, children? Do you remember the main methods of generating electricity? We can generate electricity using dynamos, using chemical cells, and using solar energy, right? Using solar panels. In the presence of solar energy, we can generate electricity, right? So basically, most of the time, we use dynamos to generate electricity. So in order to make the dynamo work, we use different methods. We can use the flow of water, right? And we can use wind currents, right? And also we can use fossil fuels, right, children? So by this one, we can generate electricity. But why is it not sufficient? You all know that when we generate electricity using these renewable and non-renewable resources, there are many problems occur. So let's consider about hydropower. Using hydropower, we can generate electricity. But there are some seasons, the drought seasons are there. So then what happens? The water levels of the reservoirs reduces. So if the water levels of the reservoirs reduces, the speed of the rotation of the turbines also reduces. Thereby, the amount of electricity that produced is also reduces. Right? Let's talk about wind energy. In wind power plants, there should be a considerable speed of wind in order to make the dynamos work efficiently. Right, children? So in different areas, the speed of the wind is different. Therefore, we cannot install these wind power plants in all the areas as we need. Right, children? When we consider about solar power, right? When we use solar cells and solar panels to generate electricity, so in certain countries, there are 4 seasons. So during the winter seasons, it's very difficult to generate electricity with these solar panels. Right, children? What about fossil fuels? We can burn fossil fuels and we can generate electricity. Right, children? So fossil fuel is a type of limited resource. Right? So as it is a limited resource, because the supply is less, sometimes there are problems with generating electricity with fossil fuels as well, right? So that is why the amount of electricity generated is not sufficient, right, children? Therefore, even though there are different ways of generating electricity, right? Still, the amount of electricity generated is not sufficient. Therefore, we have to conserve the electric power that we have, right? So, electricity is considered as a kind of limited resource in this way. So, therefore, we have to conserve the electricity, right, children? So, therefore, there is an energy crisis in the world. That is why the conservation of electricity is important, right, children? Look at this one. The highest usage of electricity is from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is known as the peak hours, right? Peak hours don't be 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. What is the reason, children? This is the time we have to use most of the areas of the house, right? Your parents get back home like after going to their work, right? And this is the time period your parents, your mothers have to cook, right? And you all have to do your homework, right? Therefore, you have to keep the light bulbs on. Therefore, a lot of activities take place during this time. Therefore, consumption of electricity is very high during these hours. Right? We watch television, and unlike daytime, now during the daytime, without the help of the light bulb, we can use the daylight. Right? But during this time, we must use the light bulbs. Right, children? So because of this reason, this time period is considered to be the peak hours, right? The highest usage of electricity is from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., right? But at the same time, there are different ways of reducing the consumption of energy or electricity using even this time as well. So we are going to learn about those methods under this topic, right? We'll move on to the next. Conservation of electricity. So here given some methods of how to use electricity economically, right? It's time to use electricity economically. Here are some ways of conserving electricity. So most of these methods, you know, children. Let's go through them. Use efficient bulbs. So there are different types of light bulbs we can use, children, in our day-to-day life. Different types of light bulbs we can use. Some of them consumes a large amount of electricity, while some other bulbs consume only a little amount of electricity, right? So we can opt for these type of bulbs that consumes only a little amount of electricity. Thereby we can save electricity, right? We can conserve electricity. We'll go through this. The amount of current used in CFL and LED bulbs. CFL bulbs means compact fluorescent lamps. CFL means compact fluorescent lamps. LED, we all know, it's a type of diode, light emitting diode, right? CFL and LED bulbs is even less than 1/5 of the current used in normal bulbs. Normal bulbs means the filament bulbs, right? You all have seen the bulbs like this with the filament inside, right? These are the normal bulbs or the filament bulbs. They consume a large amount of electricity, right, children? But when we use CFL bulbs, LED bulbs, and also halogen bulbs, if you have heard of it, right? Halogen bulbs, it's even less than 1/5 of the current used in normal bulbs, right? Also, their lifespan is 10 times more than a normal bulb. Normally, when we buy these type of CFL and LED bulbs, it's a little expensive than the normal filament bulbs, right? But at the same time, it's very beneficial because it consumes a little amount of energy, right? Less amount of energy compared to the filament bulbs. And at the same time, their lifespan is also higher than that of the filament bulbs. So even though the initial cost is high, there are other benefits, right, children? So using efficient bulbs is one way of conserving electricity, right, children? We'll go to the second method. Switch off the appliances when they are not in use. Now we all do one mistake, right? When we go from one room to another room, sometimes we forget to switch off the light of the room that we were before, right? When we go out of the room, we must switch off the light if we are not going to use them. This is something most of us do this mistake, children, right? What are the other instances? Keeping televisions, computers, telephone chargers in standby mode. You don't completely switch off them after using them. Let's say the televisions, right? Televisions, after watching the TV, most of the time we just switch it off only with the remote control. But at the same time, you can see that the other small bulb, it's still on, right? Which means the TV is not completely switched off, it's in standby mode, right, children? So, which means a certain amount of energy is consumed here, right? And even computers, without shutting down them properly, we sometimes leave it in sleep mode, right? So telephone chargers. Sometimes these mobile phone chargers, we plug it and we just remove the mobile phone, but actually we don't switch it off properly, right, children? So these are very careless mistakes we always do, right? So you have to understand that even though we have partially switched off the certain appliance, it's still consuming electricity if we Do not switch it off from the plug point, right? So if we are not using them, we have to properly switch them off without leaving them in the standby mode because they consume a certain amount of energy. Understood, children? Right. Third one. Do not increase the sound of televisions and radios unnecessarily. So what is the reason, children? In order to produce more sound, more electricity is necessary, right? So when you increase the sound levels at that time, the particular appliance consumes more electricity, right, children? So don't increase the sound of televisions and radios unnecessarily, right? And the next one. At present, there are televisions and computers with LCD and LED screens. Now, some of you must have seen the old televisions, right? So, which are known as CRT televisions, CRT TV or CRT televisions, right? Those type of televisions consume a very large amount of energy compared to these LCD and LED televisions, children, right? So, they minimize the consumption of electricity because of the different types of technologies they use. They consume different amounts of energies, right? So when you compare the TVs with LCD screen and LED screens and those old televisions, conventional televisions which are known as CRT TV, CRT TV consumes the highest amount of energy, right? And the televisions with LED screens consume the least amount of energy, the minimum amount of energy, right? So the energy consumed by these LED screens, the TVs with LED screens is about half as this energy consumed by the LCD televisions, right? Or about 50% lesser than that of the LCD television. If you compare this LED screen TV and those old television CRT TVs, now this one's energy consumption is as about 300% lesser than that of that old TVs. So you can compare how much of energy consumed by those old televisions. Right, children? Therefore, by using these type of televisions, we can save a lot of energy. Right, children? Okay, the next one. At present, there are refrigerators that minimize the consumption of electricity. Right? There are refrigerators made with this special technology called inverter technology. Right? So not only refrigerators, there are other electrical appliances as well, right? Washing machines, AC machines. These type of modern machines are coming with, most of the time nowadays, they are coming with inverter technology, right? So the electrical appliances coming with this inverter technology, they can consume a very less amount of energy compared to the other instruments, other appliances, right, children? So at present, there are refrigerators that minimize the consumption of electricity. At the same time, when we use a refrigerator, there's a certain way that we have to use, right? We can save electricity according to the way we use the refrigerator at home. What are the ways? So sometimes whenever we want to eat something, we open the fridge door and looking at the food items, we think what to eat, right? What to cook today, what to eat today. That's wrong. While you are opening the door, what is happening? That cold air goes out, which means the refrigerator uses more and more energy to cool the inside environment. Right, children? Therefore, when we open the door, we have to close the door as soon as possible. So another method is when we place the refrigerator, we should not place it too close to the walls, right? And at the same time, we should place the refrigerator where there is no sunlight. Right, children? Otherwise, what will happen when sunlight falls onto the refrigerator? It will get heated up. Again, to reduce the heat, it consumes more and more energy to cool the system down. Right, children? So, these are the methods that you can reduce the energy consumption when you use the refrigerator, right? And the sixth one, by ironing many clothes at once, then ironing one at a time, we can minimize the wastage of electricity, right? So electric iron is an appliance with a heating coil, right, children? So the appliances with heating coils consume normally a large amount of electricity, right? So therefore, when we switch on the iron time to time, each time it consumes, to get heated up, it consumes a large amount of energy. Okay, children, therefore, if you iron all the clothes at once, as much as you can, right? If you iron many clothes at once, you can save a large amount of energy. And at the same time, to iron clothes, to run the washing machines, you can choose off-peak hours. Now, what are the peak hours? 7 to 9 p.m. considered as peak hours. If you use these type of appliances during that time, more energy will be consumed, right? To iron your clothes, to wash your clothes using washing machines, right? You can use off-peak hours. Right, children? So we'll move on to the next. So for your extra knowledge, look at this one. This is very important, children. There are mercury in many CFL bulbs and this can harm the environment when CFL bulbs are disposed. Right? In the tube-like part of the CFL bulbs, there are trace amounts of mercury. Right? When you dispose these bulbs, in case that the glass breaks off, what will happen, children? That mercury will get added to the environment. This is really bad. When animals and plants get exposed to mercury, so many changes take place in their body, right? So long-term exposure to these harmful substances like mercury will cause different diseases in our body, like cancers, kidney diseases, like that. Okay, children, therefore, when we dispose these type of CFL bulbs, we have to be very careful. We have to do it properly. Right, children? Okay. We have an assignment to do. List out the ways of minimizing the amount of current used for bulbs in your home. Minimizing the amount of current use, which means to make the appliances work efficiently. Right, children? So we already discussed these type of things. Now you can write a long list for this one. What are the things that we can do? We'll write a few of these things. First thing, we can use efficient bulbs. Not only efficient bulbs, we can use efficient other electrical appliances as well. So do you remember I told you that appliances with inverter technology, they consume a lesser amount of electricity, right? So using efficient bulbs and other electrical appliances. And we have to switch off the appliances when not in use, right? And to run different types of machines or electrical appliances, we can use off-peak hours as much as we can, right? When we iron clothes, we can iron all in at the same time. Right, children, as much as we can iron many clothes at the same time. And specifically when we use the refrigerator, we have to be careful not to open the fridge door always, right, time to time. And as soon as we can, we have to close the door after opening it. What are the other ways? So, and the other thing is, when we place the refrigerator, we have to place it where there is no sunlight, and at the same time, you have to place it a little away from the walls, right? And another way is when you use the fridge, you should not put too hot food items to the refrigerator. You have to let it cool. Otherwise, in order to cool it down, also a large amount of energy is consumed. Right, children? Okay, we'll write some of them. Right. Now I'm going to write only a few of these things. You can write a long list, okay? Right, number 1. Using efficient bulbs and other electrical appliances. Next one. Ironing many clothes at the same time. Switching off appliances when not in use. When not in use, or when they are not in use. Right? So you can write many other examples. When you do this assignment, you can write many other examples that we have already learned. Right, children? We'll move on to the next. Our second topic of this chapter is prevention of accidents caused by electricity. Electricity is sometimes a good servant, but sometimes a bad lord too. See how true is this, children, right? So electricity, as much as it's useful, sometimes it can be very dangerous too. You all know this, right, children? Careless use of electricity may cause damage to the property, serious accidents, and sometimes even death. So these are the dangers related to electricity, right? Careless use of electricity may cause damage to property, serious accidents, and sometimes even death, right? When people get electrocuted, they sometimes even die, right, children? So how to prevent these type of accidents, children? We'll go through this list. Do not use electrical circuits and appliances in places where there is water. What is the reason, children? Because water conducts electricity, right? Water conducts electricity. Therefore, whenever you handle electrical appliances, you should not handle them with wet hands, right? Follow protective measures when necessary. You should never ever handle these type of different types of electrical appliances with wet hands. So at the same time, during flood situations, you have to switch off the main switch, right, children? This is because the water conducts electricity, right? Okay. Look at this, the next one. Disconnect the electricity supply of the circuit before any maintenance related to electric circuits. This is also very important. Day-to-day activities, sometimes we have to change bulbs, right? Whenever we change bulbs, we definitely have to switch off the light first, right? And at the same time, sometimes we have to change the sockets, power sockets, or we have to repair the power sockets. We normally don't do them without the help of the technician. Anyway, even with the help of the electrical technician, we have to switch off the main supply or at least the supply of the appliance. Okay, children? So disconnect the electricity supply of the circuit before any maintenance related to electric circuits, right? So otherwise, you will get electrocuted like this. Right, children? We'll move on to the next. Do not cut trees in a manner as to fall on current wires. Look at this picture, right? A large tree by a roadside. When you cut it like this without any precaution, what will happen? It might fall off the wires, and then if the wires fall down, if the wires break, what will happen? The people around here also will get electrocuted. Therefore, at least with the help of a few people, we have to do something like this. Right, children? So this is why most of the time, sometimes when there are very large old trees by roadside, when we want to remove them, first of all, we have to inform the electricity board so that during that particular line, they will disconnect the power supply. Right? Okay. So this is a precautionary method, right? Next one. Don't fly kites or toy planes near current wires. Look at this one. What will happen? Do not spray water towards current wires. Again, water conducts electricity. Let's say that, look at this child. This kite thread is tangled over here. What will happen in case if this kite thread is wet? This child will get electrocuted, right? Wet means because of presence of water, and water conducts electricity. Right, children? Therefore, you should not play around these type of electric wires. Right? As small children, you can go to some other place and you can play with your toys or kites and different types of other toys. But you should not play around these type of electric wires. Okay, children? Right. The next one. Do not fix antennas near current wires. Why? What is the reason? So most of the time the antenna parts are made with metals, and at the same time you know that most of the metals conduct electricity very well, right? So what if these parts of the antenna contact with these electric wires, and when you are going to turn these antenna, you will get electrocuted, right? Therefore you should not fix these type of antennas near current wires. Okay, children? Right. And then the next one, if ladders are used near electric wires, use wooden ladders or ladders made up of non-conductive materials. Now sometimes when during different types of repairs, right, if a certain repair is done in an electrical circuit, we should never ever use certain metal ladders. Most of the time these type of metal ladders are made with aluminium. Aluminium is a very good conductor, right? So therefore, in order to repair these electrical circuits, we have to use non-conductive materials, ladders made with non-conductive materials, right? Examples, fiberglass, right? And wood is used to make ladders, okay? So most of the time, step ladders can be used with wood and even with fiberglass like materials, right? They don't conduct electricity. Therefore, using these type of ladders, you can repair the electrical circuits. Okay, children? Right. Next one. If a broken current wire is found on the ground, do not touch it although it is insulating. What is the meaning of insulating? Do you remember we learned about the wires, like when we consider the wire, there are two areas present. Do you remember when we were learning about these conductors and insulators? To do the activity, we use the outer cover of the wire and the inner part of the wire, right? This outer cover of the wire is insulating. It does not conduct electricity. So when we consider these current wires, they are actually covered with an insulating part. Even though if we see something like this, we should never ever touch these type of wires. Right, children? This is very dangerous. Inform an adult immediately, and the adult should immediately inform the electricity board. We should never touch these type of wires. Right, children? Right. The next one, without permission, do not try to get electricity using common electric wires. Unauthorized ways of obtaining electricity. This is really bad, children. So when you try to get electricity, draw electricity wires using the main wires like this, you definitely might get electrocuted, right? Only a trained person can do this, children, right? So without knowing anything, you should never ever try to do these type of things, right? Okay, the next one. Do not plug several electric appliances into one socket. Now sometimes we plug different appliances to the same multi-plug or the same extension cord. This is very risky, children. Specifically, if the appliance that we plug consumes a large amount of electricity, right, a big appliance, it's very risky. What is the reason? Now, do you know that when we touch any electrical appliances after switching it on, if you touch the electrical appliances, what would you feel? You will feel that the surface is hot. What is the reason, children? Because due to the flow of electricity, the appliance gets heated up. Right, children? The appliance gets heated up when electric current flows through it. You must have observed this in televisions, computers, and other appliances as well. Right, children? So what will happen? The same thing will happen in this type of multi-sockets. Right? So the multi-socket also will get heated up because of passing electricity through it. What will happen if we plug many appliances at the same time? More and more heat will produce. Because of the high heat produced, it might even cause a fire. Right, children? That is why we should not plug several or different types of electrical appliances at the same time. Okay? Right. Next one. Do not draw unprotected electric wires on your premises. Right? Sometimes whenever there are functions and sometimes whenever there are renovations, we have to draw different other wires as well. This is also very risky, right? So when you draw unprotected electric wires without any knowledge, we should never ever try to do. If we need to do something like that, sometimes from the main supply, we have to draw different wires to other places. So sometimes, during Vesak festival, to light the Vesak lanterns, we have to draw wires from the main supply. So we have to be very careful. It's better to get the help of the technician. Right, children? So those people, the technicians, they know how to do this properly. Okay, so we have to be very careful, and without any knowledge, we should not draw these type of unprotected electric wires in the premises. Okay, children. So these are some methods of preventing accidents due to electricity. We'll discuss some other instances as well. Okay, the next one. Some other methods, right? Apart from the above facts, we must pay attention to the following facts as well. How to prevent accidents due to electricity, right? Keep electric wires and extension cords out of reach of children. So most of the time, if there are small children at home, we have to be very, very careful, right? So keep electric wires and extension cords out of reach of children. Not only that, electrical appliances as well, right? Do not let children go near electric sockets. Nowadays, there are socket covers. Whenever we don't use the sockets, we can cover it with special plug-like part, right? So unplug multi-sockets when not in use. This is also specifically if there are small children, we have to be very careful around them, okay? Do not let children use electric appliances without the inspection of an adult, okay? And don't touch electric circuits and appliances with wet hands. We know the reason now, because water conducts electricity, right, children? When using electric irons or other appliances, wear rubber slippers. What is the reason? This is also something you know, but some of you might know what the reason is, right? Rubber slippers, so stand on a rubber doormat. What is the reason? Why rubber? Right, listen very carefully what happens, children. Now you all know whenever you use any electrical appliance, let's say this is a electric cooker, right? So it is plugged to the plug point like this, right? So if you are cooking something, ironing or cooking something, so even though you can't see from the plug point, one wire goes to the ground. It's known as the earth wire, right? It goes to the ground. Let's say that because of electrical leakage, if you get electrocuted, what will happen? The electric current passes through your body and it goes to the ground. And at the same time, what happens? Through the ground, it can go through this wire, complete in a circuit. So I'll draw the path with a different color, right? So when you get electrocuted, electricity passes through your body and it goes through the ground because there are two connections here. It goes through the ground and through this wire, again back to this one, and so it completes a circuit. This becomes a closed circuit now. You all know electricity passes through a closed circuit. Right, children? So you will get electrocuted. What will happen when you wear rubber slippers, children? When you wear rubber slippers, even you get the electric shock, from here it cannot pass to the ground. Why? What is the reason? Because rubber is an insulator. So even if you get electrocuted, from here, after your rubber slippers, so after rubber mat, what will happen? Electricity does not pass to the ground, which means the path of the electricity is not there. Electricity cannot flow through a closed circuit. From here, it stops. So which means you are safe. Okay, children? That is why when using electric irons or other appliances, wear rubber slippers or stand on a rubber doormat. In case you get electric shock, you will not get electrocuted in a dangerous way. Okay, children? Right. So if you notice some unusual nature of an electric appliance or a circuit, call your electricity service provider immediately. If you observe something like this, let's say sometimes whenever you plug certain appliances, the fuse switch always tripping, right? Fuse switch always tripping, which means it indicates there must be some problem with the appliance. And sometimes you see in circuits, or even sometimes when you plug certain appliances, you see it sparks. So you should never try to correct these things by yourselves. You should get the help of a technician. Right, children? Okay. Disconnect the main switch in your house during floods. Main electrical supply should be disconnected during floods again. The reason is because water conducts electricity. Okay? The next one. It is compulsory to fix a trip switch. Right? What is the trip switch? You are very familiar with this term. Trip switch or electricity breaker. Right? Trip switch to the domestic electric circuit. You all know sometimes when it is thundering, the trip switch goes off. Right? Trip switch trips or trip switch goes off. That is actually a safety precaution. It's a safety measure, children. That is for your own safety because, so whenever there's a fault or when sometimes when a large amount of electricity all at once flows through the circuit, it automatically goes off. Right? It's for your safety. Therefore, you must install a trip switch to the switchboard. Okay? It's compulsory to fix a trip switch to the domestic electric circuit. The damages caused by accidents related to electricity can be prevented by the automatic function of this switch. So sometimes when there's a fault in the appliance and sometimes during thundering and lightning also, this switch automatically goes off. Right? It goes off and this is why this is known as the trip switch. It keeps on tripping sometimes if there's a problem in the circuit. Therefore, it's a must to fix this type of trip switch in the switchboard. Okay, children? Right. We have our last assignment. Prepare a booklet including the ways that accidents may occur due to electricity and how to prevent them. Now you all know most of the time these type of accidents occur because of our carelessness. We have to be very careful when we use electricity. Electricity is very helpful to do our day-to-day life. At the same time, it can be quite dangerous too. Right, children? So what are the instances that accidents occur due to electricity, children? Sometimes when we handle electrical appliances with wet hands, we might get electrocuted. Right? Sometimes when we be very careless, sometimes when around the main electric wires, when we play around, especially small children, when they play around, they might get electrocuted. Right? Even especially if there are small children at home, we have to be very careful because sometimes they insert their fingers to the sockets, right? They touch the electrical appliances unnecessary. In case they are turned on, they will get electrocuted. Right? Especially when we use multi-sockets, we have to be very careful not to plug different number of electric items at the same time. Right? So there are different instances that accidents might occur. So how to prevent them? Precautionary methods. How to prevent in them also we discussed here. Right? Wearing rubber slippers when we handle electrical appliances, right? And installing or fixing a trip switch to the domestic electric current, okay? Disconnect the main switch in your house during flood. So many ways that we learn. And especially if there are small children at home, we have to be very careful, right? We should not let them handle the electrical appliances, and we should cover all the plug points and all, right, children? So these type of many things that we learned here. So you can write a long list here and you can make a nice booklet. Okay, children? So we have completed the lesson. Now we are going to see the summary to see what we have learned so far. Look at the summary. Electricity makes our day-to-day activities easier. This is the first thing we learned. Not like ancient days, nowadays for cooking, for washing, right? We can use different types of electrical appliances. Okay? Therefore, it's very easy to do our day-to-day activities. Okay? At different occasions, we use different appliances to generate electricity. Do you remember we learned there are three main methods of generating electricity: using chemical cells, using solar panels, and using dynamos. Remember, children? Right. Electrochemical cells, solar cells, and dynamos are some of the ways of generating electricity. The three main methods of generating electricity, right? A circuit is a system in which a current flows, and we learned that current flows through a closed circuit. Okay? Some of the simple components of electric circuits are bulbs, switches, ammeters, wires, dry cells, and further we learn about milliammeters, galvanometers as well. Right, children? Materials that allow to flow current through them are called conductors, and ones that do not allow to flow a current are known as, what is the name? Insulators. Okay? There are many electronic appliances used in circuits too. Some of them and their uses are given below. We learn about different types of electronic components as well. Okay? Diode, it allows the current to flow only in one direction. We did experiments too. Light emitting diode, it's also a type of diode, emits a light when a current flows through it. Okay? What else? Resistors controls the current which flows through a circuit. Right? Light sensitive resistors, a type of resistor, changes the resistance according to the amount of light. And we can make small electronic circuits using electronic appliances. We learned how to make different types of circuits and different ways of connecting the appliances, okay? And as the last part, we learned the careless use of electricity may cause serious accidents. And it's our responsibility to use electricity efficiently and productively. And we learned what are the different methods we can increase the efficient use of electricity, and what are the methods of conserving electricity too. Right? Okay. So I hope you got a better understanding on this lesson. But this is not the end. You all know that we have to do the exercises as well. Right? So before you watch the exercise videos, you have to do all the exercises by yourselves, children. So after doing all the exercise questions by yourselves, you can watch the videos and you can check whether the answers that you have written are correct, and thereby you can improve your knowledge. So we'll start the exercise in the next chapter.